We're going to start this news hour with some breaking news. Al Jazeera has learned Russia will extend a UN-brokered grain deal guaranteeing safe supplies from Ukrainian ports. According to senior Turkish officials, the deal, which was set to expire on Wednesday, will continue for now. The agreements allowed millions of tons of Ukrainian grain to be shipped through Black Sea ports blockaded by Russia. We're going to go straight to our correspondent, Sinem Kosioglu, who's live for us in Istanbul. There was a threat by Russia that it might not extend this deal. Now we're hearing it probably will go ahead.
Well, Rob, we are hearing from the Turkish authorities that the meeting is still underway, but on most of the topics, the parties have agreed. However, we heard Kremlin spokesperson Peskov saying that until we hear from a statement, official statement from Russia, we should wait. So apparently the meeting that was held on May 10 among the deputy defense ministers, it has come to a specific point because back then the Russian officials have stated their concerns about the deal. The deal was brokered by the UN and Turkey in Istanbul, and it actually allowed both Ukrainian and Russian grains and fertilizers to reach global markets. However, Russia claims that still that commitment hasn't been in place. It just only focuses on Ukrainian deal. That's why Russia has been slow in renewing the last extension. This is the situation, but we know that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was expected to speak with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. So if there is we will probably hear the extension of the deal from the presidents of both sides, Rob.
Yeah, Sinem, you were talking about the fact that this deal was negotiated by the UN and Turkey, and we have seen in the past when there's been a threat to grain supplies from Ukraine, that has pushed prices up around the world. If this deal hadn't been extended, do we have any indication of what the impact might have been?
Of course. I mean, we know that there is a food crisis around the globe, especially among the poor countries, Rob. And when the parties signed this deal last year in June 2022, the priority was to focus on poor countries, especially in Africa, to bring grains to them as they are in need the most. However, during the previous meetings, especially during a joint press conference between Turkish and Russian foreign ministers a few weeks ago in the Turkish capital, Ankara, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that the Ukrainian grains were not going to the poor countries, but actually to Europe, who do not imminently need those grains. But the deal was signed in a different framework. And when the extension time came back in March 18, Russia had approved it just one day before the expiration date. So we see that Russia is pushing its borders because they believe their national interests are not being recognized, despite another deal was signed to free Russia's fertilizers and grains to the global market. But of course, if this deal is not extended, this is a problem not only about food crisis, but also about food prices and the hunger in poor countries, because so far 30 million tons of grains have crossed Bosphorus, coming from north this way, crossing the Bosphorus, reaching out to Dardanelles, and then reaching to Mediterranean and Aegean seas and other global markets. So if this naval journey doesn't continue, then it is a problem not only for poor countries, but also in developing countries who are dealing with high inflation. So now all eyes are on the possible phone talk between Turkish and Russian presidents, hoping that the deal is extended. Rob?
Sinem Kosioglu in Istanbul. Sinem, thank you very much indeed. Well, the deal's extension is going to come as a relief to Ukraine's farmers and countries which rely on its grain exports. Natasha Butler reports from Zvodzitsky in western Ukraine.
Spring in western Ukraine. This young wheat will be ready to harvest in 2 months, but farmers here worry they won't be able to sell it because the war has severely disrupted exports. Alina's family has owned this farm for decades. She says Russia's blockade of Black Sea ports and new import restrictions in some EU countries are hampering trade.
Since the port blockades, we've not been able to send by sea, so we started exporting via our western border to Poland and Hungary. But now they've banned our grains, so our trucks have to carry our products all the way to Italy.
Poland, Hungary and 3 other countries recently banned imports of Ukrainian grain to prevent a glut, although the grain can still transit through them. It's forced this farm to find new clients further afield, but logistics are pushing up costs, and not being able to export easily means millions of dollars worth of grain could be lost. Usually at this time of year, all of the grain on this farm would have been sold, but because of the war and all the problems linked to it, half of last year's harvest is still here, having to be stocked in the silos and in these huge plastic sleeves. A few kilometres from Poland's border, this rail transport company is trying to get things moving.
We have here European wagons which are already loaded with the Ukrainian grain, and it's ready for transit to the Polish port of Gdańsk.
The manager says the war's changed everything. They didn't transport grain before the invasion, now it accounts for 50% of the business.
We had a lot of requests to support Ukrainian farmers for export their grains into Europe, and from that moment we started to construct a new grain terminal.
As one of the world's main grain producers, Ukraine's exports are essential for its economy and to feed people around the world. Valery says transporting it at such a vital time isn't just about supporting the war effort. It's also a way to build more connections with the European Union that Kyiv is on track to join one day. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Sovkivsky, Western Ukraine.